Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to A Cup of Hope with Hope Against Trafficking and the Michigan Abolitionist Project. Today, for Cup of Hope, you will have the opportunity to submit questions to our panel by typing your questions into the Facebook Live feed or on Hope Against Trafficking or Michigan Abolitionist Facebook page or on the YouTube channel for Hope Against Trafficking. Either one of them will send their questions into us that we can go ahead and share with the panel. Of course, you're welcome to send in your comments or questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the session. Feel free to check in and let us know that you're watching. We'd love to see those comments also. I'd like to welcome today's panelists. We have Hannah McPeak, who's the Education Director for Hope Against Trafficking, and Emily Johnson, Program Coordinator at the Michigan Abolitionist Project. Today, they're going to be talking about the bitter side of sugar dating. Our guest panelist this week is Robin Batten. Robin is originally from Birmingham, Alabama. She grew up in Detroit and graduated from Wayne State University. Her work history includes Wayne State University library system, foster care licensing, residential treatment for teen girls, and college admission at ITT. Robin is the Cyber Safety and Wellness and Resilience Program Manager with the Washtenaw Area Council for Children. WACC is a nonprofit that provides prevention education in Washtenaw County. In addition to working for WACC, Robin also works for Talk Early, Talk Often, educating parents on talking to their teen about sex. On average, Robin speaks with 8,000 to 10,000 students and adults annually on ways to keep safe on the internet. These conversations are facilitated in school assemblies and classrooms, parent groups, conferences, and at various community events. Since she joined WACC, Robin has had the opportunity to receive training from and facilitated workshops with FBI agents and other law enforcement, cyber safety and cybersecurity organizations, and NAMI. Robin works in partnership with various organizations, including the Michigan Abolitionist Project, Washtenaw County, and Washtenaw Live, a suicide prevention group. Robin enjoys spending time with her family and friends, reading, teaching, watching movies. Her volunteer history includes children Bible classes, organizing gift giving for families in need, and teaching classes at the women's prison. Robin is a wife and mother of an adult male and teenage boy. Welcome, Robin, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to our panelists.
Awesome. I'm muted. It's so exciting to be here, to have a cup of hope. I'm glad that all of you guys who are viewing this right now and listening in are a part of this. I am going to say that I'm really excited about talking about sugar dating because I don't have a lot of experience and a lot of understanding with regard to this. And so I think this is going to be a really engaging and really important topic today. Emily, will you provide a description about kind of what we're going to be talking about regarding sugar dating?
Yes. So those of you who have been with us since the beginning, you're aware that we've discussed various topics over the months, including cyber safety, pornography, and even ending the demand for sexual commercial exploitation. And we've come to find that these topics are all intertwined with each other oftentimes. And especially during COVID, we know that has made some populations vulnerable or more vulnerable than they may have been before. A lot of people have lost their jobs, are now unemployed or seeking employment. And so this topic of sugar dating has come up and is becoming a lot more popular. And so we just wanted to take time today to explore what that is. We've even seen it. So just doing some research, it's even been advertised in men's magazines and men's articles as kind of like an opportunity. They frame it as dating. So a lot of these sites are used as dating sites with just some additional perks for the females in such cases. But so we decided to invite Robin today, as she is an expert on a lot of these cyber safety topics. And as Kendra mentioned, Michigan Abolitionist Project has worked with Robin before, and so I got to know Robin by watching one of her presentations, actually, and so I was just blown away. She's super great, a super great speaker, and just super knowledgeable on all things cyber safety. So we are very grateful to have her with us today. But yeah, Robin, why don't you share with us a little bit about what you do specifically, and then we can really start to dive into this topic today.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, my job is cyber safety, all things cyber safety. I typically work with the youth and parents and other adults in the community. And we start as young as third grade and work our way all the way through even some college opportunities to talk to young people about being safe online. So when we're addressing online safety, and it includes so many different topics, we try to spread our wings as much as possible to fit as much content in a workshop. So we typically address cyberbullying, sexting, online predators, which also is adjacent to human trafficking, the digital reputation, our digital footprint, right, or online etiquette. And we do privacy and security, like ways to protect themselves and their device, okay? And all of these topics that we talked about, and I mentioned this earlier to you ladies, is that when we're talking about cyber safety, we're talking about the bullying, the sexting, and online predator, all these things can come together. A young person that's being bullied can also be in a sexting situation, which can also lead to an online predator situation or human trafficking situation. So, and I thought that this topic of sugar dating was a very good topic. I don't think it's being talked about as much as it should be. When I looked into it, as Emily said, doing a little bit more research is really, I can see how a young lady who is at disadvantage or has some challenges or want to have a certain lifestyle can be sucked into it very easily. So I found it very interesting looking at this aspect of being online. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's really unpack sugar dating.
Mm-hmm.
Is that me actually?
Maybe. Turn your mic down.
So sugar dating, obviously it involves a sugar daddy and a sugar baby. But these websites are often camouflaged as dating sites. And so what kind of websites, I guess, are we talking about today? Because there's tons of dating sites out there. So what dating sites?
Are you asking me to share some?
Sure, because I know that Seeking Arrangements is one of them that we had mentioned. I guess that's the main one.
Yeah, sugardaddy.com.
Okay. So, Robin, can you tell us at all, I guess, what constitutes a sugar daddy, or how does this relationship start, or
Sure. Okay. So, when I looked a little deeper into it, as I said, it's not talked about that often. I don't get a chance to talk about it that often. It sounds like, they have the sites and the girls go on and they sign up for the sugar daddies. They go on to meet them, and they can also use like Tinder and some other places. I was talking with a young lady earlier today, as I mentioned, she was giving this information on Instagram. So they can be anywhere. And it sounds like the young ladies are sharing this. I actually visit a YouTube young lady. She has her whole sugar daddy experience. And she's sharing how she got connected with a sugar daddy, how to protect herself as a sugar baby. I don't know. Sugar baby is what she's called. How to protect herself as a sugar baby, and what, if you want to be a sugar baby, what to do, how to get into that arena, like signing onto the websites, I guess doing your little research. Actually, she had 8 steps. I kind of want to get into those. She was like, learn from them is number 1 when you hook up with a sugar daddy. And when she said this is the way to get the most out of it. So she's sharing this, and that can be very enticing for a young lady who wants to live the glam life or have material items. She got into it because she wanted to buy material items, and she had just bought a car that she didn't know she could pay for. And so someone told her about the whole sugar daddy website. And so now she's come up with these rules. She talked about her first experience and then ways to do this deal. And I'm sitting here looking at this young lady and her approach. So it's methodical. They feel like they're outsmarting the sugar daddy, correct? And so she's like, make sure you're comfortable. Like if you're comfortable with the guy and comfortable doing anything, discuss the arrangement prior to getting connected with this sugar daddy. Make sure, he's meeting what you want, like the amount of money. Like when she first got into it, she really, like, I guess it would be considered lowballing yourself, like how much money you want, right? And this guy was really offering her way more money than she thought she could ever make in 1 week. And it was just for one meetup. So just to meet with him and have these sexual encounters was $1,500 a week, once a week. He would pay her that. So she felt like, he's rich, I'm going to be rich. This is going to work out. I can buy whatever I want to. And so she was like, make sure that you have whatever that allowance is, that you know what it is up front. And I thought that was very interesting because it's almost like a business deal, And she said, make sure don't have someone in the same city that you're in. So that means that you need to really, she was saying outside of the state. So she's giving these instructions outside of the state so that you won't be hooked into a regular boyfriend relationship. Remember, because they're in it to make money. They're not in it for intimacy. They want the sugar daddy to take care of their lifestyle. Right? And so what else did she say? You can demand more money. She said, no checks, no cash app, only cash. And you get the cash prior to, there's no, I got to go to the bank. There's no, you can pay me next week or whatever the case may be. You get your money up front. And I thought that was interesting. Let's see here. No money, no relationship, and no arrangement without the money. And then she said, use your money responsibly. So they're really teaching these ladies how to run sex business. Honestly, use your money responsibly, making sure that you're taking care of yourself because the money can go fast or your sugar daddy could decide to discontinue. So, when these young ladies are looking at this and I'm like, wow, I can see how a young woman can be attracted to this. It makes it sound like, because not all of them play fair. I did learn that it doesn't always end up so clean as if the way that she's trying to present it, that some of them end up in very abusive relationship and other dangers like human trafficking, not just this guy, but another guy. You get that? And they talked about, one of your questions was college girls, and that brought my attention because not just college girls, because I look at the girls that I work with from middle to high school and how they want to have the name brand, the Prada bags and the shoes and the coats and get the hair done and the nails done and all those things. And, they get sucked into these type of situations where the guy is paying for all of these things. College girls, really looking out for parties. I think that's a deal for all of our girls, whether they're in college or not, because I've heard of instances where girls are like, it's the guy's job in high school to friend her up, act like her, and then lure her away on the weekends or whatever. And then they, the guys come in and have sex with her and they get her high first because she's not able to yell, scream, or defend herself or say no. Get her high, and the guys come in and have sex when they videotape it. And I'm sure you guys, ladies, have already heard about that before. Videotaping, they use that to extort her. Sextortion is the term for that. And once they get her hooked in, they can get her doing whatever she wants to. And then they just continue to blackmail her. And from my understanding, a lot of these girls are not even leaving home. This is like a weekend deal. They have to do it on the weekend. And also with relationships, I've heard of boys, like that's a requirement to date them, to like give their friends a blowjob or something like that, or to have sex with not only them, but their buddies. Okay. So any other questions about
Robin, you touched on a million. I was just writing down notes and questions because I didn't want to forget anything. First thing I wanted to touch on, because you began with the fact that this gal that you were watching her YouTube video, she laid it out as like a methodical, she had steps. And so just as these sugar babies have methods and tips, these sugar daddies also have methods and tips and chat rooms and videos and tutorials and books on how to be a successful sugar daddy and how to ultimately get what you want out of that relationship. Because a lot of those men, I mean, what's the reason? What are really the benefits for the males participating in these relationships? I mean, it seems kind of like a scam. They're just giving away their money, and these girls are, don't have to do anything. But really, Robin, what's the catch here? Or unfortunately, what happens in a lot of these situations?
Yeah, and you say what the catch is. The catch is that they do make it seem like it's a business arrangement, correct? Kind of remind me of the whole 50 Shades deal. We're going to sign this agreement, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to show up to this party, and I'm going to buy you this dress, because I watched another video where that was her story. She showed up for a party. He would buy the clothes, and so there's a trade-off. Nothing is for free, and they probably get sex from someone else, so not everybody is willing to pay for it. So you're right. I think that's just a hook, and then they get them into something deeper. When we were initially talking about me being on, I was reminded of situations, I would say, with young ladies who their hook was the club. And I see it kind of like that once they're in that arena and they consider themselves making money, that it goes further and deeper into trafficking other men. There's some control factor in there. You guys know that these situations are about control. So they want to control these ladies, but make them feel like initially that you're in control. You can make that decision. I watched one video where they just sort of a sting, and she said he felt like a nice guy, even though I'm doing this kind of a setup, but he was nice, and it was kind of my decision, whether or not I want to go back to the hotel room with him. And I think that could also be a hook. Like, well, the first time he didn't even want sex with me. And then the next time, he's going to still pay me. I got paid for that, didn't have to have sex. Maybe this can be something a little different, where I'm not compromising myself. And then they find themselves into a situation where either this guy's using and abusing them. And I didn't hear a lot of talk about physical abuse, but I read a few articles on where we know that happens, where they're being physically abused or they're being used by other men, not just this one guy. So they make it sound glamorous, and I really feel sad that this young lady is on YouTube, multiple young ladies talking about how to be a sugar baby, and making it seem glamorous.
Speaking to that, I think you hit on something really, really important that stands out to me. And part of that is the lure, obviously, the lure of this business transaction. You are making a conscientious effort. You've laid out your plan, and now you're in it because you set that up. And then when everything turns on you, you're now in a position where you feel like, oh my gosh, I've made this decision. What happened? How did this change? And now you're like, maybe you're trying to save face. Maybe you don't want to get in trouble. Maybe there's so many different now self-inflicted, I believe, once you get to that point, self-inflicted pressure. And then now you're getting exploited. I think it's just all mirage. It's totally a complete way to fool somebody. And for these men, they're exploiting a human being. So they could be, anything could happen to these women once they get into their hands. And you're right, both sides are getting something until one side isn't anymore. And I think that's almost most of the time. And the sugar daddy is most likely making a profit because their business transaction is getting someone lured in so then they can sell them or exploit them in one way or another. And
like the websites, I'm quite sure those websites are not running just free on ads. that when those sugar daddies sign up and they're maybe giving her whatever amount, but the sugar daddy is also probably paying a fee to be a part of this group. So what amazes me is that all of this is happening online. Is going under the radar of a lot of adults and parents and those who care for their kids or working alongside a young lady or sitting in the classroom. You never know, that they could be involved in some of this. So talking about this whole sugar daddy approach is very, very important to get it out there. I always say that if your child come home, and I tell parents this if your child come home and they have gifts and items that you did not purchase, like a Coach bag, their friend is not going to give away a Coach bag. That's just not going to happen. Someone is probably, if they're getting things in the mail and they're like excited about it, items that or just messages that maybe it's a letter or an envelope and you're like, oh, you got some mail here. It could actually be some money from someone, that she paid favors. The other part of this, and I didn't look into this, but I know that this happens and I'm kind of concerned now. I really want to look into it. I typically find out a lot of these things when I am with the police and the FBI, when they do workshops and things of that nature. It's the webcam. A lot of them are being trafficked right here in their bedroom, doing favors, or maybe they can have a sugar daddy that's virtual. You pay and then you do the thing online, So there's a lot of red flags to me here, a lot of risk, a lot of dangers.
Or it can start by asking for pictures of your feet or pictures of this or videos of this. But then, like you said, you kind of, in a lot of cases, the female might start to work up kind of like a debt with that person. And then his expectations start to, okay, I've spent this much money on you, even though we agreed that we weren't going to do all that. They still expect it at some point, and I think that's what a lot of girls don't realize or think that they can get out of, or just naive too, because that's most of the stories that I've heard are females will meet up with this person to collect the money or whatever it may be, and he has already decided in his mind, okay, I've invested this much money in this female, I deserve sex at this point, or I deserve this at this point. And whether or not she's willing to do that, that's what he set out that night to take. So a lot of times in these situations, girls are sexually assaulted, et cetera.
Can I ask, and this may seem like a silly question, but is this what you were just talking about? I mean, where do the lines cross when it's legal, when it's not? The legality around it. What are the boundaries, and how can you distinguish that?
You know what? Most of the things that when I talk to young people, they're all under the age of 18. So we're talking about child pornography, that the whole sexting laws and all of that and what that means for them. And even though they may voluntarily get and say, send a picture, but it's still child pornography. And then when it's sent out to another person, they're distributing child pornography. So one of the things I have seen, and I was thinking about when Emily was talking, is that, even the young boys do it the same thing to the girls. They may not be considered traffickers, but they do it. They lure them in. We used to define an online predator as someone that was an adult male, though what we're finding is that even older teenage boys are victimizing younger girls, and that's in middle school. Like, they're reaching down to middle school and they convince them, they reach out online, and I kind of have this silly dialogue with the kids. So I'm in the class, I'm like, yeah, they friend you up on the internet, and you accept that friend request, and they're sitting there watching you, and they start flattering you like, oh, I like your hair color, I like your hair, oh, I like your art, I see that you're a gamer and I love games too. And you just sit there and they get familiar with you, your habits and what you like. Then they start to private messaging you and say, hey, I didn't want to talk to you, with everybody else on there. So I just wanted to just talk to you privately and say hi and tell you I think you're such a great person. You're so pretty, just to get to know you a little bit better, right? And then they use things like jokes, and the kids are like nodding their heads, like, yeah, they may tell you this joke, and the joke is funny, and you're telling your friends, oh, this dude is so hilarious. Look at what he said. You're sharing it with your friends because you think it's funny. Then the jokes get slightly inappropriate, and you're taking a step back. You're like, oh, that was kind of inappropriate, but it was so funny, right? And then the jokes increasingly get very inappropriate. So they ease them into the conversation, that lure, right? And once they hook them into talking about sex, they feel like they got them, because then it feels like a point of no return for the kids, right? And then so they use that to say, they can use it as a blackmail. I'm going to tell everyone that you said, like, expose them. And you said they may start asking for pictures of your feet because he might share. I got my toes done, right? But let me see. And then it goes up. It becomes more and more and more. Oh, can you see the picture? Even your hair, anything that will attract the kid, and then they start asking for those pictures and those images because they're grooming them into that conversation with ease, or even if it's uncomfortable for the girl or the young person. I won't say the girl, because boys are also 30% of the boys are victims of online predators. We need to know that. And so they lure them in, and they're talking to them, and they're just building their trust and that emotional attachment. Once they get that attachment to them, it's kind of hard to back out, and remember, developmentally, they're not quite there. So their ability to reason and ration is not there. So the blackmail could be, I'm going to expose you to your friends. And we have seen that happen. The young lady, took her top off and exposed her breasts. And I can't remember her name right now, but she was on YouTube with the cards, and she was telling her story, and she eventually took her life. And it was an online predator who exposed her to her friends. And also they would say, I'm going to tell your parents that what if your parents, if they find out that you were talking to me about this, like, talk to me about sex, whatever, or a penis or vagina, they're going to be angry at you. And so the kids, they don't want their parents to know, and they think, if I don't do this to this guy, he is going to tell my parents, and I'm going to be in trouble. They're going to be angry and disappointed. They're going to take away my computer or my cell phone. So that is huge for young people. That's why, I really say, I try to talk to them just right where they are about those type of scenarios. Just really get real with them and not sugarcoat it, because they're not getting it. They're getting it full force. There's nothing watered down that's coming to them. So why water down our conversation? Yes, you do have to age appropriately, but I tell you, even though, as I said, we started as young as 3rd grade, there have been some elementary school incidents simply through the webcam and through social media. If they have a cell phone, they're probably on social media, no matter what their age is, right? So those are things that I think we all need to be aware of, that the allure is not just being taken away, that it's right here on those devices.
That is a really good point, Robin. I'm so glad you said that, because that is one of the things that I know, to quote an FBI agent who was saying, like, you're 1,000 times more likely to interact with a potential, manipulator or predator trafficker, just sitting at home in your own living room on your device, like with your parents, right next to you. You're more likely to be in a situation at risk, in a safe environment, and that's the other piece too. Do you find that when you feel safe, you are braver, I guess? You're in your own home, so you tend to maybe be braver and be willing to do some things that if you were dropped into, like, New York City by yourself, you're going to be on alert. You're going to feel scared, worried, as a child. I know when I separated from my parents on accident, I was nervous when I was 10 or 8. I was scared. I was on high alert. I wasn't talking to anybody. I was going into the store and finding somebody who worked, or looking for a police officer or something like that. But You're not going to just talk to anybody, but when you're home and you feel safe, but yet you are literally dropped in the middle of New York City when you enter social media spaces, you don't feel your alert system isn't alerting you. And so you tend to be braver and you accept friends more easily. You talk to people you don't know more easily. And that sets it up too to make it that much harder and make you, that much more at risk.
And we tend to, I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm sure you're finding that.
Yeah. And, we tend to share more information online. It's sort of like if you wouldn't put it on, a billboard by the freeway, don't put it on the internet, and they do tend to share more personal things. So I do actually say, hey, if a stranger walked up to you in the mall and got close to you, right, you're probably going to back up. And if they start asking you like, hey, what's your name? You'll be like, why does this stranger want to know my name? Why do they want to know where I live or where I go to school? Do I play sports? I don't know you. So yes, in their bedroom, on their devices, they feel safer. They absolutely do. Some of the things that they say is that I just simply, crack jokes with them and make fun of them, me and my friends. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of what they want you to do. But as long as they got you engaged, then they know at some point they're going to get to you. Because when people make us laugh or engage us in a funny conversation or a good conversation, our barriers come down, our protective barriers, right?
Yeah, and it's the same thing with sugar dating. When you're older, when your barrier servers, you're like, this looks like a business transaction. This looks like this, I'm at home, I'm safe, like I'm controlling all of this. I know what I'm going to get them. I'm going to have money in hand before it. So it's this whole idea of setting up somebody up for exploitation. I mean, really, and you can't be more careful. Now you have to be that much more alert. When it's so easy not to be. Like it's this whole tension space that you have to sort of be in tension all the time, and you should be when it comes to conversation. You know what I mean? So,
but when you say that, one of the young ladies that I was watching a video on, she said, he didn't look like the creepy older dude, right? He was attractive. He had on a suit, and all of this stuff. So what looked good feels good.
Charismatic, sweet talker.
And I tell you, the best manipulator is the nicest, most friendliest person that will make you feel like you're the only person on the planet. That they're the ones that you get along with best. They're the ones who know who will take care of you and who will give you, work to fill your needs. That again, there's that tension of like, okay, how do you balance this? And you have to be all that much more aware of that. I'm not saying not to trust anybody, but when you're younger, the advice to everyone is to talk to one of those adults like Robin was talking about. Can you just talk a little bit about the important, and I know we're kind of going over a little bit, we have a couple minutes left, but Robin, I do love you to touch on the importance of having a couple of adults. You talk about having at least 3 adults outside of your parents that you can.
Yeah, I think that having someone to go to and giving them that space to let them know, you don't have to say you're my go-to person. Just have them in the back of your head. And so when you're in trouble, you have someone to go to. And if you can't reach the one person, maybe you can reach the other person. And if you're afraid to open up the conversation with your parents, which we've all been there, right? We don't tell our parents everything until you become an adult. That person be a mediator between you and your parent. And as a mom, I think if one of you came to me and say, Robin, your son needs to talk to you because he has this, I would immediately go to concern, right? And it will probably de-escalate me if he had came straight to me. One thing I do want kids to know, and I always say that there is no mistake that you can make that goes beyond the love that your parents have for you. So they're going to love you first, even if they're upset or scared or angry, because it's scary. My 23-year-old just had an accident. My stomach got sick, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to be concerned no matter what. But then after I got past, okay, he made a mistake and had this accident. Are you okay? I just want to know, are you okay? How can we fix this? Are you, making sure you got the care he needed? And so we're going to love them. Doesn't mean that we won't be disappointed in some sort of way, but the love is going to cover all of that. And kids need to know that we love them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Even if you're 20, but even when you feel safe, but you're listening to your voice too, right? Like learning how to listen to your voice. When there's a question, just basically talk to somebody, you know.
And trust your inner gut. Trust your inner gut. You know when something's not right, those red flags. This guy feels a little too familiar or just too comfortable. Trust your gut. It's there. That's the inner red flag that's for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Adults include, you know, college age, high school age, middle school, elementary, all ages, you know. So wow, Robin, this was so engaging. I mean, I seriously talk about this for like a whole nother hour. I mean, this just because it's so important, and you want, like, you know, everybody to be taking this in and having conversations. You know, I encourage all of our listeners, all of you guys, to begin these conversations with those around you, with your youth, with your family, with your friends, you know, because this is important conversations that we had, you know. And so I encourage, again, I always end everything by saying, please have a cup of hope today and share it with everyone.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you
so much.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us for today's Cup of Hope panel. Whether you're watching it live right now or watching the recording, we do appreciate your time and hope you found it valuable. If you're interested in more, please be sure to check out Michigan Abolitionist Project's Celebration of Impact and hear from guest speakers Matt and Ashley Boyd as they talk about their vision for the new year. They will be live streaming at mapforfreedom.org on Sunday, November 8th at 6 p.m. They have a fun Latin-themed evening at home planned with recipes, music, dance lessons, and more. So be sure to tune in to the Michigan Abolitionist Project fundraiser Havana Nights. On behalf of Hope Against Trafficking and the Michigan Abolitionist Project, thank you so much for joining us today and have a great rest of your day.